Suburban Prepper. And today I'm going to talk about various antibiotics that you should be taking for shit hitting the fan, just to have on hand. Many of you may know, many of you don't. One, I was a combat medic, been in a couple of wars, multiple deployments worldwide. I'm an RN and I'm a registered nurse, and I'm a nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner. So it sort of makes me an expert on what I'm talking about today. So I want you to tune in, take a good listen to what I got to say. This is for preppers. Shit hitting the fan. A list of antibiotics that I think you should have and why. Now, by now, as you as preppers know where you can buy antibiotics from overseas and get them shipped. I'm not going to go over any of that. Okay. There's companies that sell antibiotics. There's individuals that sell antibiotics. I don't get into that. I'm not in the selling business. I'm not going to prescribe anybody anything. What I want to provide today is some knowledge. So the first category of antibiotics are the penicillins, which is a pretty broad spectrum, okay? That includes amoxicillin, penicillin, ampicillin, augmentin. So for the penicillins, even if you're allergic to it, it's good to have it on hand. Why? Because it's a bartering item. So the one I go with, obviously, for starters, is amoxicillin. Now, I'm not going to go over doses, but understand you've got pediatric suspensions and grown-up suspensions. And grown-up pills. They come in various strengths. Alternatively, amoxicillin clavinate, which is a combination of two medicines, brings it up a notch. Now, amoxicillin itself is good for staph and strep infections, okay? And some UTI, urinary tract infections, not primarily, but it is. Augmentin is good for some simple bacterial pneumonia. Simple, nothing complicated. In fact, it's not even first-line therapy. It's adjunct therapy. Okay. The next antibiotic category that I want to go over, because it's similar, is cephalosporins. It's a synthetic antimicrobial. And if you're allergic to amoxicillin, you can take a cephalosporin and you won't have any reaction. So, hear me out. There's many different cephalosporins. The ones that come to my mind that I think preppers should have, and the Restream shot, ceftriaxone. It's an injection. The next one that comes to my mind is Keflex, cephatoxin. Okay? Now, these are good for anything that amoxicillin or penicillin is used for, plus some skin infections. And Restream, the shot, has multiple uses. Ear infections, urinary tract, some sexually transmitted diseases. Okay. There's cefoxamine, cefadine. There's different different categories of cephalosporins. If I'm going to pick one, I'd pick cefoxamine. But if you also want to look at pediatric dosing or suspension, the stuff that comes in a powder, you add water to it, and it becomes suspension for children. Okay. Now, hear me out. This is important. After that, azithromycin. Now, it's used for covers everything that amoxicillin covers. Believe it or not, it's good for some more strains of bacteria for pneumonia and some sexually transmitted diseases. Alternatively, if you're allergic to cephalosporins or penicillins, like amoxicillin, erythromycin or azithromycin, commonly known as a CPAC, is what would be something that you would need to take. So that's roughly 4 or 5 different antibiotics that I've talked about so far. 3 different categories. Okay. Next category are the tetracyclines. Now, there's an antibiotic called tetracycline itself, and there's one called doxycycline. I prescribe doxycycline, and then I go over in a video. You're going to watch it. I'm not going to talk about it here. Why children should not be taking doxycycline or tetracycline. But it's good for skin infections like acne, sexually transmitted diseases, and more complex cases of pneumonia. Okay, doxycycline. Let that sit with you for a minute, okay? After that, the next category. Now, I'm just going over antibiotics today, folks. Not antifungals, antiparasitics, or antiviral medicine. Just antibiotics. Okay? So the next category, or antibiotic that I believe is important to have, is sulfatriamterene, Septra. Septra is good for urinary tract infections. It has some resistance. It fights against let me back up. It fights against MRSA. It's one of the first line therapies. So that's that. Septra. It's taken twice a day. It comes in one concentration. Of course, there's a suspension for children. That's a whole different ball game. I'm not going to go into that. So after that, we're going to go with the bigger guns now. Clindamycin. Clindamycin. It's good for more complex skin infections. It can help with pneumonia. It's just a broader antimicrobial. Okay. And a step up from that, or in a different category, are the fluoroquinolones. And the 2 fluoroquinolones that come to mind for me, for preppers to have are ciprofloxacin and so ciprofloxacin, that's good for skin infection. If I remember right, it's good for Pseudomonas, a certain type of bacteria. It's good for urinary tract infections, especially. And then there's a second fluoroquinolone that you should have on hand, and really, it's meant for pneumonia. Okay, notice I'm really focusing on big disease here. It's a fluoroquinolone. Again, for the life of me, I can't remember the name, but I have it on hand myself. After that, we're going to get into a couple of weird ones. Vancomycin, if you can get it, which is good for Clostridium difficile, from taking antibiotics inappropriately or just taking them. I got it turned. People here don't like to have someone turn in front of you. So those are the antimicrobials, antibiotics that I recommend. Now, there's definitely a couple strong ones out there that I did not mention. I don't see how or why a prepper, a non-medical professional prepper, would even need to have them on hand. So the biggest diseases that you're going to want to get treated if shit hit the fan as a prepper. This guy almost got into an accident. The bitch is looking on her phone. Oh my God. Anyway. Sorry. All right. Treating the big infections, right? Bronchitis, pneumonia, urinary tract, cystitis, bronchitis, skin infections. So those things you want to get treated when shit hits the fan. Yeah, there's a list of naturopathic antimicrobials, and I've done videos on this. I'm not here to talk about them today. And that comes to my mind now. Levofloxacin is the other cephalosporin that should have on hand. So what really ticked me off before was a non-medical person, as far as I know, was selling augmentin, which needed to be reconstituted in an IV form, usually in a 250 cc IV bag and given over an hour or two. Was selling that in an antibiotic kit for preppers. And I questioned the person that had the antibiotic. Why would they even keep? They're not going to have an IV set. They're not going to have a way they could piggyback an antibiotic from a mainline IV. It's a waste of time to have. And I told them, you're better off having a shot of Rocephin. But this girl, these preppers, none of them want to take any advice or listen to anything anybody says to them. It's the same kind of people that post memes on Facebook with outdated information. And they want you to think that they're an expert in the field, which they're not. So yeah, those are the antibiotics that I think you should have on hand. That would cover 99.9% of issues that would require shit hitting the fan. One thing I did not go over are the topical antibiotic creams and ointments and what they're used for. And let's just be honest, most topical antibiotics have their purpose, but they're also used in conjunction with other creams, usually. Is it good to use the naturopathic remedies first and preventative care first? Yeah. Like if you smoke, quit smoking. Okay, now a little confession time, folks. A little confession time. When I went into heart failure a couple years ago, I turned into diabetic. But luckily, I got myself off the insulin, okay? And I didn't get myself off of it. I worked with the doctor to get myself off of it. I'm no longer taking insulin, but I wear that glucose monitoring system. And I haven't worn one in a couple of weeks. Well, like a month. I put one on. I put one on the other day with time. My sugars are fine, but the problem is at night, my sugars are bottoming out. And that's why I get so, I realize now, a lot of times when I get grumpy as hell and dizzy as hell, it's because my blood sugars were too low. So last night, my sugar went down to 67. And I turned off the alarm. Like, okay, I'll go back up. That's foraging effect. Then I got up and I decided, well, I better go get some carbs to eat, some protein. And I did. I feel better. Oh, God, I feel a lot better today. Definitely more energetic. So, you got to take care of your body. Now, I believe I got to just accept my limitations. Okay? Well, that's all we're going to talk about today, folks. Have a good day. Suburban Prepper out. Suburban Prepper out.